This camera is actually a pretty decent smartphone. This is the vivo X300 Ultra. I'm here in Singapore. We're at Rainforest Wild Asia, Mandai Wildlife Reserve, and we're gonna take it through its paces. 200mm, the all-new Gen 2, the 400mm, the X300 Ultra. We're going in the wild. Let's do it. It's actually not the wild, but it's kind of the wild. You know what I mean? It's civilized wild. Let's talk about the Ultra. I did a first impressions, an unboxing, which by the way, you guys can watch. I'll put a link in my description below. But watch this video if you want to see real world performance when it comes to photography. I'll be doing a separate video on the video features of this because there's just so much inside this camera. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to photography because they have really updated this system much more over the X300 Pro. Now, one of the differences between the Ultra and the Pro is a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 processor versus the MediaTek Dimensity 9500 that's on the Pro. They're both great chipsets. This is going to be more for the video because obviously you can record up to, I think, obviously 10-bit 422 log APV codec, which basically it's like, every frame is coded separately. I'll give you that in another video. Now, when it comes to the sensors of this phone, it's all new. You've got a larger 50 megapixel ultra wide. You've got a 200 megapixel standard and a 200 megapixel for the telephoto. Now, it's a little bit different than the Pro on the telephoto because I have that Periscope technology in this, which is going to give you even better zoom capabilities. And I got to tell you, the image quality coming out of these sensors, all three, is absolutely phenomenal. Plus, you get a 50 megapixel front-facing camera as well. What I want to do is kind of give you an idea of the distance and the image quality and the best of practice with this lens. Now, this is smaller than the original 200, but you still have the same range. And I think it's about a 2.35 times thereabouts in terms of its range on this one, about 200 millimeters. But you can do up to 1600 millimeters, but your sweet spot's going to be between 200 and 400. At 200, it is very sharp and it's very fast. And one of the benefits of this new 200 megapixel telephoto sensor, it's almost has like a gimbal-like stability in terms of its quality. So before on the X200 Ultra and the X300 Pro, you'd get a little bit more shake than normal and it'd be hard to focus. As you can see, the image is quite sharp and it grabs the image very quickly on this one. You also have much more of a option on this one when you want to go into sports mode too. So you can even make this faster if you want to do that, where it actually sort of gives you more of a higher refresh rate on the display to capture your subject as they're moving. And also you can do snapshot. That kind of speed was never possible on the X200 Ultra and the X300 Pro, but it is now on the X300 Ultra. I mean, that just gives you an idea of how advanced Vivo's getting with these camera systems. So let's talk about this new 400mm lens. This is the first time we're seeing something like this on a smartphone at this size. And I believe the other manufacturer that's coming out with something similar is only 300mm, not 400. So, and this is very small and compact, mind you. I mean, considering the size of it, right? And the 200 as well. Now, I will say out of both lenses, if you get the photography kit, you get both lenses anyway. But the 200 is a much more versatile lens. And with the 400, you're gonna have to be quite a bit of distance from your subject away to capture the image. You can go all the way up to 1600 millimeters on this one, and then I think you can even go beyond that if you want. But really what you're getting is just fantastic optical quality. So the optimal for me for the best sharpness, highest qualities between 200 and 400 when using this 200mm lens. And on the 400, up to about 800 thereabouts. And then after that, it's gonna get it's gonna get a little softer. It's not gonna be as sharp. And that's because it's really cropping in on these 200 megapixel sensors. But they're 200 megapixel sensors. And for portraits, this is unbelievable. That's part and process of because of the optics inside of this, but also because of the new color science and the way that Vivo's sort of re-engineering their images out of this. It's a brand new color science, a brand new way of looking at smartphone images. Because previously, when you looked at a lot of these phone images, they were sharp, they were over-sharpened, they were almost a bit too crunchy, and it looked digital. But what Vivo's done with the color science and the images out of all this, and you can see it through the different profiles, is they've looked at film stock, looked at color and how you could render that. And then also it took that and sort of reduce the sharpness, give you a really good color profiles that kind of give you that idea of film, also natural as well. You honestly, if you put it next to a professional camera system out there, side by side, same depth of field, same focal range, you'd have a hard time deciphering between the two. That's how good the image quality coming out of this is at this point in time. Well, I almost kind of say it's a camera that is also a phone. Ooh, look at that. There's deer. I got the shot. Look at the detail there. Now, it does take a moment for the image to process. It doesn't happen so fast because there's a lot of computational photography that's going into this, measuring the light, the shadow, the detail for understanding what the subject is. But that is unbelievable. And I'm not even shooting at the 200 megapixel full resolution. This is just a JPEG out of camera, and it's that good. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the X300 Ultra. I've had this phone in my hand over a month now. They have improved this quite a bit in terms of image quality, in terms of speed and performance. And as a result, they've revamped everything about the image quality out of these phones. And you're getting a much more organic look, especially in these new colors out there. Yes, you still have the same Zeiss natural that's there in other colors, but they've added new color styles, which you can customize. You can really fine tune them, and you can save them as like a preset, or you can share them to your friends and they can scan and download them, use them respectively. So they've really put a lot of effort into this part of the image quality, and it's something that you see right out of the bat with this. I mean, the X200 Ultra, the X300 Pro were already really good camera systems. I think the X300 Ultra it just made it look more real, like coming from a mirrorless camera system overall. And it's absolutely beautiful. Speaking of which, I want to talk about the Street Photographers app on here. Now, it used to be called Humanistic. Now it's just called a Street Photography app, and it's on the main menu on the bottom of the bar. You slide to the far left, and there it is. Before, it was some like white line above the shutter button that nobody knew what it was. And then all of a sudden you're like, what is this? Oh, this is a Street Photographers app, which basically is they just reduce the processing. So it's, you get much more of an organic feel. Now with this one, what they've done is they've added some new film stocks that we haven't seen before, which you can customize as well. And it gives you more of that film-esque look to it. I really enjoy using this, and it's fast, it's intuitive. You can use all the lenses, including these, which I'll talk about in a second. Something that Vivo has done with the Ultra, which is different from the Pro or the X200 Ultra, is using these however you want to use them on any of the different photo or video modes. You can use these, which is fantastic. And it just gives you much more flexibility. So if you want to use a Street Photographers app, you want that less processing, but you want the reach, you can do that now. Also, we got to talk about low light performance on this. This is a freaking beast for low light. I mean, it can see in the dark in ways that I think this might be the best phone I've ever used for low light. I mean, I've taken images where it's like pitch black, and all of a sudden you just see a ton of detail. Yeah, it just takes a few seconds for it to, process the image. It's absolutely awesome how they do it. I don't know the algorithm, whatever they're doing, but Vivo was really onto something with that one. Also, let's talk about the wide angle lens on this one, because it's even better before. The sensors improved, the optics have improved, and as a result, it is so much fun to use, but it's sharp, very detailed. Man, just the detail in the flags and the colors and the ground was awesome. And I'm like, ooh, I'm not used to seeing a wide angle lens look like this. They've nailed it with that. With that, we got to talk about the main camera sensor being 35 millimeters instead of 24 or 28, because that's what they have on the Ultra, because they're looking more for photographers, and 35 is the more consistent focal length a lot of people like. This 200 megapixel sensor this is what makes the Ultra. It's a bigger sensor and higher resolution than the X300 Pro and the X200 Ultra. Does that mean those other phones are not good at image quality on the main sensor? No, they're still really good. But what this gives you is more flexibility for cropping and really good detail. The stabilization inside these lenses is better than before. I mean, we're talking class-leading numbers here from Vivo in terms of stabilization. And you're getting that for the main camera and the telephoto, also the wide as well. But being those two, the telephoto and the main, are really, really something that you just go, wow. And that leads me in to this. This is the 200 millimeter and this is the 400 millimeter, right? Now, if you get the photographer's kit, you're getting both of these lenses included. Now, if you get them separately, because when it was passed to me for review, I got them separately in different boxes. Would I recommend the 400 or the 200? I think depending on the photography that you're doing, it definitely does help. But I found myself struggling at times because of the minimal focusing distance that you have to be away from your subject because it's 400 millimeters versus the 200. I found myself going back to the 200 more so for daily photography. This helps when you're at the zoo, if you're at a concert, or if you're at a sporting event. You can definitely take this with you and capture some amazing shots if you are far back from your subject, right? Because you're getting better optical performance out of this versus, your 400, you're already cutting into the sensor, but 400 here, you're full size sensor on this one. I think it's APO or Oppo, yeah. And you can get a lot out of this. Now I want to talk about stabilization. The big thing that I noticed between the X300 Pro and the X300 Ultra is stabilization, especially with these lenses. You are going to notice that the camera shake is not as much. And yeah, they had to close down the aperture a little bit to get better stabilization, but I think your CPO rating is very, very high up there. I mean, this is industry leading numbers, optical stabilization. I mean, from the X200 Ultra, which was very hard to take photos because it was constantly shaking on the screen, to the X300 Ultra, which is almost steady at times, it's a world of difference. Now, with that said, because the aperture had to close down a little bit to get better stabilization, when you are in lower light situations, the images are okay, but you do see a reduction in sharpness, and the noise reduction is a bit aggressive on this one, unless you shoot in RAW. So you will see that image soften up relatively fast. That's probably one of the things I wish was improved on this one, is that it wasn't so soft in lower light situations. That was probably the one challenge I had with these lenses, is even if I was taking photos at this Chinese opera, they're behind this, backstage putting their makeup on or getting ready, sometimes I got some really sharp images and other times they're sharp enough, but lower light crept in a bit soft. Same with the tigers around the zoo. If they're in the shade, sometimes it's really sharp and sometimes, yeah, it's a little soft, just a bit, but you can't have it all. The one thing that this needs, by the way, is a thumb rest. The strap is nice to have, but it does get in the way. But it'd be nice if they actually put some sort of thumb rest here that allows you to put your thumb here and not hit the screen and knock it out or hit another menu system. And that's one of the things that I wish was improved. Outside of that, it's just such a really easy camera system to use. With that said, let's say you want to sync this to your iPhone or to your Mac. Can you work with Vivo phones on those platforms? And the answer is yes. There is Vivo Easy Share, which is sort of like an AirDrop app that you can sync in. You just scan the QR code and you can just send over your files, photos and videos right into your iPhone. You can do that. Also, you can do this on a Mac. Now, use a software called Office Kit. Now, Office Kit allows you to sync your phone right there. You can actually see your phone on your display, on your desktop. You can access it, do all that stuff, and you can also pull files in there. Now, this is important, especially if you're going to be taking video and you can be shooting a log, especially in the Pro video mode, because the only way to grade that video is through DaVinci Resolve at this point in time. That's how you do it. It is fast. It's intuitive. With that said, should you upgrade from an X300 Pro to the Ultra? If you're going to use a lot of these lenses, yes. If you're someone that doesn't use these lenses that much, you're probably not going to notice much of a difference. Yeah, I mean, the sensor is bigger on the main camera versus the Pro, but it's not like you're going to notice a big difference in image quality right out the gate. If you're coming from the X200 Ultra, is it worth going to the 300 Ultra? Depends. That X200 Ultra creates some really good images. Even to this day, I brought it with me to Lijiang and I was like, wow, it's still really, really good. It's not as fast as the X300 Ultra, and it doesn't have the flexibility for telephoto lenses like you have on the X300 Ultra, but it still produces some really nice images. So again, if you use these a lot more than not, go with the 300 Ultra, okay? You're gonna see the best performance overall. But in a nutshell, guys, I mean, this has been a phone that I've left some of my Pro cameras behind me. I've left them here on the shelf and I've just brought this out with me to the zoo or gone out with me to events and captured images or restaurants and things like that. And because I have so much range from the camera system inside this, even without the lenses, it's unbelievable. And the low light performance is awesome. The optics out of this are awesome. Video quality is really good, which I'm doing a separate video on that one. I mean, this is the future, guys. And you're gonna see a lot of this technology going into other phones from other manufacturers, probably with this year or next. And you gotta give it to Vivo. They're leading the way in many, many ways when it comes to imaging. And it's fun to be part of. It's just fun to experience these phones and just go on this journey. So with that, guys, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, like, subscribe. Thank you for the support, and I will chat to you all very, very soon.